name is Patty Wagner. Welcome to my kitchen. Our kitchens are places of lots of activity, and I would dare say that over the years, over the thousands and thousands of years that civilization has been in existence, most activity revolves around the place where food is cooked. For us in the United States, and I would dare say for many other countries, the kitchen is a place of comfort, of laughter, of gossip, of sharing secrets, of sharing stories that are important to our families and to us, of deep discussions. It's also a place where we share food. Food that brings us comfort, food that brings us nutrition, but also food that belongs to our family traditions. The same thing is correct and in place for the De La Garza family in our story Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquivel. Tita, who is our main character, spends a lot of time in the kitchen. In fact, that's where she was born, in the kitchen. Our first chapter of this book sets the whole pace for our story. It sets the symbolism and it sets the importance of the kitchen in Tita's life. The recipe in the first chapter is one that's also very important to Tita. It's her favorite. It is for Christmas rolls. The ingredients are onions, hard rolls, oregano, sardines, and sausage and peppers. Each of them also has some symbolism. The onions are very important throughout our story because onions make you cry. You all know when you cut an onion that that's what happens. Your eyes water from the aroma, from the juice, from the oils of the onion. This, from what our author tells us, is what brought Tita into the world. The onions made her cry, and she cried herself into existence. She cried herself into premature labor, or cried her mom into premature labor. And as she was delivered, of course, in the kitchen, the water of birth goes everywhere. As it dries, it creates salt. Salt that they use in the food for a very, very long time. Lots and lots of important things within just that piece of the story. Onions can be good and can be bad. Onions are used in many recipes for flavor. They can be sweet, they can be overpowering. And I would dare say in Tita's life the same was true. They could be sweet, they could bring her that comfort as she cooked, but they could be overpowering. Just as her tears could be sweet from tears of laughter, or they could be overpowering from tears of deep, dark emotion. We can't control our response to them either, just like we can't control our response to our overall emotions and to the events in our life. The salt, of course, that came along with the birth was something that flavors, again, many, many things. It's essential not just for the body, but it's essential for flavoring of foods. Tita's tears in her life were often shed in the kitchen, on the kitchen table. They flavored her life in many, many ways, both good and bad, but it's an overall theme that we see within the book. Now, the sausage in our recipe is an entire day-long family-based project for the De La Garza family. All of the women participated in making that sausage. It's at least a 2-day process of chopping and grinding and cooking and packing and doing all kinds of things to prepare that sausage. And so sausage was a place where the family shared stories, laughed, gossiped, again, in the kitchen. Sadly enough for Tita, what happened as they prepared sausage is she was daring enough to start to voice her opinions on something that was very important to her. As she did this in her precious kitchen, preparing the sausage that she loved so much for the Christmas rolls that she loved so much, her life was changed. Her opinion meant nothing, and her dreams and desires of getting married were put at a standstill because her mother said, "No, Tita, you will not get married. Your responsibility as the youngest child is to care for me in my old age." Questions then started to arise in Tita's mind about tradition. Why do we have them? Why is it important? What happens to me? Why does my life have to be put on hold just to serve someone else's desires? Tita's favorite part of making this recipe, the Christmas roll recipe, was the aromas. And the aromas of food are very, very important for all of us. They can bring back all kinds of memories. Sit and think for a second what aromas mean to you. What brings back a special memory? For me, it's the smell of sauerkraut, because my grandmother taught me the right way to fix sauerkraut. And so that aroma to me brings back memories of holidays and my grandmother. Warm bread baking could be an aroma that brings back memories for many people out of the kitchen. So for Tita, it was the flavors of all of the ingredients that went into her favorite Christmas rolls as they sat and steeped and started to meld together. It brought back happy memories for her, of course, of a holiday that I'm sure even then was very, very special, a special family time. But in this instance, the Christmas rolls were being made for her birthday because they were her favorite. The power of tradition can be one that also can be positive and negative, as it was for Tita. Traditions of food are good traditions, but other traditions can govern your life. Think about your life and your family. What are the traditions there, both good and bad, that have formed who you are? The traditions in the De la Garza family, unfortunately, brought a lot of grief to Tita, and her grief came out in many ways. One was the sensation of cold, as described in our book. The cold that pervaded her, that she could never, never get warm from. The cold that was deep, deep down inside of her. The only thing that would ease some of that pain was her activities in the kitchen. The cooking is the only place where she felt comfortable, where it was normal for her. She uses food to explain a lot of her emotions. For example, in our first chapter, she talks about how deep and fiery her passion is, and she describes it as how dough feels when it's put into boiling oil, that heat that pervades your whole body. The first chapter of our book sets the pace. It tells of the importance of food, the importance of the kitchen activities, the importance of emotion. It starts to describe those magical realism episodes like Tita's birth, when she was washed into the world on tears. The example of the passion and the heat from passion, like dough being boiled in oil, the table absorbing her tears and knowing her emotion. All of those things are part of this first chapter. As we go through the rest of the book, I encourage you to really look at your life. What does food mean to you? Is it a comfort? Is it an enemy? Is the kitchen the place where you're happy? Is the kitchen the place in your house that is important? What are your emotions that revolve around your traditions? It's really, really cool to think about how tradition and food and life in our kitchens really does form and shape who we are. Thanks.